Good evening. Was Elizabeth Clare Prophet a cult leader? Well, some say yes, and they have the right to do so if they want to. And they come up with all kinds of reasons why they say that is so. I met Elizabeth Clare Prophet for the first time in 1991. And I had extraordinary contacts with her. And I found that the teachings that she brought forth through the Summit Lighthouse, the teachings of the Ascended Masters, were completely transforming in a good way. For real. Now, I had read all about cults before I found the Summit Lighthouse or Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and I wasn't in any way going to get involved in a cult. And in every organization there can be challenges, but one thing for sure is that her devotion and the purity of her word and the purity and intensity of the light that she brought forth is unmatched. And before I found these teachings, I had traveled quite a bit around the world, and I was quite educated, and I speak several languages. I've read many books. I have studied a lot of history. And so I don't fit the culty profile that they want to paint. And quite a number of people that I knew that were a part of this movement and are, or have been, were also some of the highest caliber of people I have ever met. In fact, I would say that those who left disenfranchised and upset were not the cream of the crop, put it that way. Now, that being said, my experiences with God have gone back since my childhood, earliest childhood, and I have nurtured a very close relationship with God, with Jesus, and then with Mother Mary, and then with the angels and archangels. Then I went and on my own studied the Sufi path and the Buddhist path and the Hindu path and a number of paths before I even found the Summit Lighthouse or the teachings that Elizabeth Clare Prophet brought forth through the Ascended Masters. And I have to say, I always admire the tremendous courage that it took for her to stand up there and to deliver the word coming from higher octaves, the etheric octave, and teachings that no human could put together in that kind of speed and that kind of delivery. Every dictation that you can see, and there are a lot of them on YouTube now, is a complete miracle. I don't know anyone else in the world who can deliver that much content and information and light in that kind of speed, sometimes back to back. Now, not only that, but I personally had healings and miracles during some of these dictations and events that proved to me that this was not just some kind of figment of my imagination or some kind of authoritarian forcing of my free will to do something against my free will or against my better judgment. And so all of the yapping of people who were either disgruntled or weren't even there and are expressing their opinions you might want to consider what I'm saying, because I am telling you the truth. Now, of course, my truth might not be the truth of others, but it's still a truth that is worth considering, n'est-ce pas? So, I had miracle healings, I did. I had miracle intercessions, I did. I had my life saved in the Yellowstone River from a drowning, a complete drowning. An angel delivered me right there outside the Royal Teton Ranch. Time and space spliced, and my body was taken from the bottom of the river to the top of the river without any physical action. It was a complete miracle, I'm telling you. And somebody saw it and said, oh, it looked like an angel picked you up and threw you, but I didn't even experience the time and space between the 2 points. I was dead in the bottom of a giant whirlpool, and next thing you know, I was on top of the river, about 20 feet from it. And this was one of many miracles, even a few months ago, where I had a cyst that was very prominent in my neck, actually, too, and they literally dissolved in a matter of days while I was working on the book, All My Love, Stories of Mark and Mother, her students. And so these books, by the way, you can find at I'm going to say goldenageteachings.com, but I believe it's booksforaquarius.com. I sometimes forget. So, what I'm saying is that I have had multiple rescues and savings and miracles, and I'm not the only one, because I made friends with people that were in this movement for 40, 50, 60 years, and their stories parallel some of what I went through. And these were not people who were making it up either. You know, when it comes down to it, you can feel the light. You can feel the light of God. You can experience the light of God if you are connected to it. If you're not connected to it, if you're cut off, then it's just rambling. And so people then compensate with a bunch of yappity, yappity, yap. And so ultimately it's going to come down to discernment, right? Yes, that's my little bhikkhu. He's telling me that he gets the discernment. So, I encourage you to keep an open mind and not to listen to all of the naysayers and the disgruntled ones, even those who are part of Elizabeth Clare's Prophets family. I saw how much love she had for her children. She told me at one point she was weeping. She was betrayed by some, not all, but some. She went through tremendous hardships and challenges in her life. And she was an extraordinary individual, probably one of the most extraordinary individuals that has walked the earth, besides some of the great ones like Jesus. That's my opinion, and I'm not sharing that lightly. That's why I'm willing to keep defending her and defending her word, because it's not just her word, it's the word of those in the heaven world who work with her. And if people believe the Ascended Masters is some crazy concept, look at Jesus on Transfiguration's Mount with his disciples when Moses and Elijah showed up. Those were Ascended Masters. Look at Enoch, who walked with God and talked with God and was taken up. Look at Elijah, who was carried up in a chariot of fire. So if you start to put all this into the cult narrative, every religion then becomes a cult. Whether you're a Zoroaster tending the flame and the fire, and you're just a fire worshiper, or whether you are a Buddhist and you are just sitting under a tree meditating to get enlightenment, or whether you are a Hindu and you are considering the various manifestations of the deities as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and even have a legend that shows up as Ganesh, the elephant head, or whether you are a Christian and believe that the body and blood of Christ is in the wafer and the wine, and so forth. All of these can be dismissed as cults. Now, some people even go and say this person politically is a cult, and that person politically is a cult, and that journalist is a cult, and on and on and on. The cult name calling doesn't stop. So, I can attest that my life turned for the better, and that I am so grateful and so much happier for having found the truth of these teachings. And that doesn't mean it was all easy by any means. But if you take a look at my books at booksforaquarius.com, you will see. And I have videos, and I have created songs, and I have written the most beautiful poems at mostbeautifulpoems.com that can show you I have a very high IQ, not just some kind of culty that doesn't know their head from their behind. So, I encourage you to remember that every true religion, true connection with God was name called, whether it was the early followers of Jesus or others. And this is the next level up on understanding the path of the saints of East and West. It is the next level up of having a unity of consciousness between Eastern and Western civilization. It's the next level up on understanding our path of personal Christhood, our discipleship under the great lights of East and West, and especially our beloved Jesus. It's the next level up. And like I told someone I love, even though I appreciated and loved Jesus from the time I was a little girl, Elizabeth Clare Prophet and her teachings on Jesus brought me even closer to him, and still do, because they completely uprooted any fanaticism that I had perceived in some of the Christian faiths out there. So whether you're atheist or Christian or Eastern or whatever you are, thank God for freedom of religion. It's in our Constitution. Thank God for the opportunity to be able to explore and understand. My first spiritual experience, very deep spiritual experience, not my first experience, but my first very deep spiritual experience where all of the cells in my body lit up, came through a Sufi mantra, which says there is nothing but God. La ilaha illallah. And people could say, well, does that mean you're Muslim? No. It means that I connected to God in that way. It was extraordinary. It completely cut me free of drugs, alcohol, partying, and all those things that had been a part of my life in college. And I knew if I wanted to experience God again in that profound, most extraordinary way at the cellular level of being, a bliss that is beyond anything that any drug could ever give you, I had to devote myself to purity, and I did. So I'm sharing these things because a lot of kids now experiment with marijuana and everything else. And believe me, the bliss of God, the truth of God, the light of God is greater, and connecting and finding your own divine source, your mighty I am presence, the Holy Christ self, is worth it all. So whether it's mantras, decrees, or songs, or listening to these beautiful dictations, you will find that this path may be one that will benefit you also. God bless you. Namaste. And don't listen to every bad rap out there. Give peace a chance, as they say. Namaste.